While Andalucía is known for its olive oil and Iberico ham, it also produces sherry, a fortified wine made near the town of Jerez. Sherry has a protected designation of origin, and all wine labeled as sherry must come from the Sherry Triangle, an area between Jerez de la Frontera, Sanlúcar de Barrameda, and El Puerto de Santa Maria.
Sherry has been traditionally regarded as a very good aperitif wine, or a dessert wine if we talk about the sweet styles of sherry. But we are convinced, and this is the way we treat sherry here at home, sherry is basically the result of a long history, a long tradition. We've been making wines for 3,000 years. And it's also the result of a very precise natural conditions. It all starts with a very peculiar soil that we call the albariza, which is capable to absorb the rainfall that we get in just a few days during the year, and 3 white grape varieties. Palomino grape variety is the most important one, and then we have 2 other grape varieties, Pedro Jimenez and Moscatel, that we use for the sweet styles of sherry. At the beginning, what we do is making a white wine. But there is a very special natural phenomenon in this area. The white wines will develop a kind of cream in the surface, a kind of a layer of yeasts, which is what we call floor. And that floor will confer very special organoleptic characteristics to that wine. It'll be the decision of the winemaker either to keep the floor or taking the floor out to open the possibilities of different sherry styles. If we manage to keep the floor, we will have what we call the finos and the manzanillas. These are extremely light wines, very pale in color, very pungent, beautiful aperitif wines, beautiful also for the seafood, very refreshing, but very dry. If we increase the alcoholic strength of the wine and therefore we get rid of the floor, the wine loses that layer that is protecting it from direct contact with the oxygen, and it gets much darker in color, kind of amber color, mahogany color if very aged. This is how we produce what we call the amontillados and the olorosos. These are much stronger, deeper wines with very deep aromas, in which wood will gain a very prominent role.
Sherry can be divided roughly into 3 different styles. First, there are the pale, dry finos and manzanillas. These are the wines most Andalusians will enjoy with their tapas, and they are excellent with simple, straightforward dishes of olives or almonds, Iberico or Serrano hams, or well-aged cheeses. Then there are the more intense flavors that come with darker-hued and darker-flavored amontillados and olorosos, and are considered optimum with meats, especially wild game and grilled red meats. Finally, there are the sweet sherries, made by blending sweet Pedro Jimenez with the oloroso to create cream sherries that are terrific with soft, ripe cheeses, especially blue cheeses, and of course with foie gras.
All the different styles of sherry that we produce, either the very fine, pungent finos or the very bold, very structured olorosos, they are also aged through a very special type of aging process that we call the solera method. Different scales of maturation in the aging of our wines. Here in the lower row of casks is where we have the older wines. This row we call them the solera, and this is coming from the word suelo, meaning floor, right? So this is where the wines that have matured for longer are always kept. Here we have what we call the first criadera, then the second criadera. We can have different scales of maturation, all right? Now, when we need to bottle some sherry, we will always take that wine from the lower casks, so from those casks in the solera. And we only take a small fraction out of each barrel, the same quantity from each of the barrels in the solera row, right? This is what we bottle. Of course, we have to filter and then we bottle it. So now the quantity that we have taken out from each of the barrels in the Solera will be replaced by this wine, which is a little younger, right? The one in the first criadera casks, right? So we transferred that same quantity into the next scale of maturation. We continue doing the same from the second criadera into the first. And we can have as many criaderas as you wish. I mean, there are some systems here in Jerez with maybe 12, 15 criaderas. Obviously, we don't place them one on top of the other. We have them in different places. But the important thing is that we have always those scales of maturation perfectly identified, and that the young wines will continue always the same path. Because it's in the youngest of all the criaderas that we will give entrance to the wines from the last harvest. The young wine will enter the youngest criadera, will be blended already with wines that have been sitting there for years. Then that blend will be reblended in the next stage, and then reblended until they reach the Solera cask.
If you've heard the term Solera before, chances are it was in reference to fortified wine, not distilled spirits. Solera aging has been commonly used by sherry, port, and Madeira producers since the mid-18th century process. So what exactly is Solera aging? In its most traditional form, a Solera is a fractional aging and blending method, using a tiered system of barrels in which young spirit is blended into older spirit to allow them to mingle and age together. The tiers are called criaderas. New product is first added into the top system. Over time, it's transferred through the top and middle layers of the Solera system until it reaches the lowest criadera.